God bless you. We want to welcome you this moment to our program, live service. We want you to connect with us right now to come together and gather together with your family as we give worship to our God. We want to pray for you that God may be able to reach out to every single one of you, that God may give strength to you this moment, that God is in the midst of the crisis, in the midst of everything that is happening. We want God to touch your heart this moment. We want to greet you from our church here and our pastor here and the entire congregation. We want to send you a warm greeting and embrace to you. And we want to pray this evening. We want that right now, as you are at home, to come together with us as we pray mightily. Lift up your hands right there where you are, in your living room or your home, so that God may be able to, remove everything that is disturbing, anything that is coming to your mind that not there should be. In the name of Jesus, let us all pray together this moment, together with your family, together with your kids, together with your wife, with your husband. Let us pray today and sing a song of worship to God. We want to glorify the name of God and exalt his name that is above all name. Let us pray right now. Father God, we give thanks to you this hour, Jesus. We glorify your name this moment. We exalt your name, God. We want to give thanks to you, my God, because you have allowed us to be this moment, God, together. And here in your church, God, we know that many people this moment are hearing the word. They're hearing, Father God, that voice that is reaching directly to the heart, God. And many people are going through a time of need. Many people are going through difficult times and through fear. And we want you to touch the heart. We want you through the word, my God, that you may bring the word of encouragement. We ask you for that brother or that sister or that person that doesn't know you, that you may reach out deeply, Father God, into the hearts, that you, the person who in the way in their life is going through a trying time to feel lonely, that they may know today that they are not alone, that they are not alone, that the Holy Spirit is with them and is to give them the necessary peace they need in their life. Everything that is going on in this world, God, we ask you that you may bring peace. We ask you, Lord, for our President, Heavenly Father, that you may give him the word, the wisdom, Father God, to be able to manage this situation that is happening. The governors, Father God, of every state in this nation, give them the wisdom, God, that only you know to give, God. In the name of Jesus, we ask you, God, and above all, bring us the peace that we need, because we know that you are in the storm, God. In the name of Jesus Christ, we so desire it to be, and we believe it. In the name of Jesus Christ. And embrace greetings to every single one of you. We invite you to worship God this evening through this worship song to glorify the name of our God. God bless you.
Restaurador de mi alma, sanas el dolor, redentor de mí. Ayer yo te bendeciré, creador de los cielos. Señor, y te bendeciré con mi corazón. Yo te cantaré por siempre, oh Señor, te bendeciré con mi corazón. Yo te cantaré, te bendeciré, te bendeciré por siempre, por siempre. Te bendeciré, te bendeciré por siempre, por siempre, por siempre, oh Señor, te bendeciré con mi corazón. Yo te cantaré por siempre, oh Señor, te bendeciré con mi corazón. Yo te cantaré por siempre, oh Señor, te bendeciré con mi corazón. Yo te cantaré por siempre, oh Señor, te bendeciré con mi corazón. Yo te cantaré, te bendeciré por siempre, por siempre, te bendeciré, por siempre, por siempre.
Oh, how beautiful it is. Even though all the situations that we're going through, in spite of the circumstances and a lot of the things that are happening on the face of the earth, we are able to bless God. We're able to honor His name. We're able to give God the honor and praise. I want to greet everyone who is watching us this moment, who is together in praising God and worshiping God this moment, and all those places who are watching us wherever you are. Greetings to you. Um, that God may speak to your heart, and that God may bring comfort to your heart and strength to your heart. I want to speak to you about a very interesting theme, a theme that really gets my heart's attention, and that God, He's aware with us, He's connected with us in this situation that we're living in. He can relate this situation that we're going through. God has a relationship. He's has a connection with everything that is happening in this moment. And even though it seems that we're not seeing God visibly, we are seeing His manifestation of grace, His manifestation of His mercy. In the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 36, the scripture gives us a biblical portion. Let's read it together, Church of God, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. For I am certain, nor life, nor death, nor angels, principalities, what's present, or what's to come, or what's high, or deep, no other thing created will separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus. When trials and afflictions we suffer, the question that we can ask ourselves is, what happens? Or what steps can we take to be able to alleviate the suffering that we are experiencing. And that is the first question that I want to bring to you. What steps can we take in order to alleviate the suffering that is caused by the circumstances? And one of the things that we have to consider are the reasons for why human beings suffer. And I want to repeat this again. The first thing that we should analyze and understand, what are the causes that we should consider the reasons for which we as human beings suffer. We can we experience suffering as a continual consequence of the seed of Adam and Eve. And when sin entered the world, I want you to hear this carefully. Pain and suffering and conflict and death entered into the life of mankind. The Apostle Paul, he affirms in the book of Romans, chapter 5, since sin has entered into the world by a man, and death, therefore death through sin, and in this way death came to all men, because all sin. In these moments, the entire universe created is crying out because of the sin, the effects of sin, and desires the time of the new earth, the new heaven and earth. In this time of pain, in this time of agonizing, desperate crying out to God, we need to depend on the grace and the strength and the comfort of God. And I want to repeat this to you once again. During this time of affliction, during this moment of pain, during this desperate time that we are in, we need to depend on the grace and the strength and the comfort of God. In 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13, the Word of God tells us it has not come upon us, no temptation, that is human, faithful is God, that He will not allow us that you be tempted beyond or you can bear. But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can stand up under it. And I believe that God, He's not going to give you a burden that you are not able to withstand. The situation that you are going through, I believe that God has confidence in you. That in the midst of this circumstance, in this battle that you're going through, God is going to give you the strength to get out of the situation that you are in. And a lot of believers suffer because of the same reasons that unbelievers suffer. And we suffer the consequences as well. And at times we don't realize and we don't see and understanding that the suffering that has come to our lives is the cause or the consequence of our own situation. And and the thing is that everything that man sees, he will, he reaps what he sows. And do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. Everything that a man he sows, he shall reap it as well. And sadly so, at times it hurts us. And it is a reality. At times we don't like the truth because it hurts. But these things that are happening on the face of the earth, what we have planted, what we had sown, is what we are reaping in these times. Everything that we are experiencing this moment, let me tell you, it is applied in a general sense to the whole world, not only for the unbeliever, but also to Christians. We are all covered by the situation or affected by the situation that is happening. And the unbeliever and the believer, child of God, they're also being affected, are being feeling the pain. Because as humanity, we all, we reap what we sow. And let me tell you something. The question is, what are you sowing? What have we sown so that we are reaping the fruit? Is it disobedience? Have we sown disobedience? Have we sown murmuring or argumentation or conflict, how we sown division. All of this is the cause and reason of what we are experiencing. So we need a change. We need a transformation. We need to ask God for forgiveness. What we need is to ask forgiveness for all the people that we're able to experiment the grace and the mercy of God Almighty. And I want to say this once again. We need a change. And you may say, perhaps I don't need a change. I believe that all of us, we need a change. Every single one of us needs a transformation. I believe that all of us need to ask God for forgiveness. And whomever we have mistreated badly, to experience the grace of God so that our prayers are answered, so that the eye of God is attentive to our supplication. We need to ask God for forgiveness. And I believe that it is time for us to come on our knees to the feet of Christ. And I believe that it is time to tell the Lord, forgive my self righteousness. And not a partial driven type of repentance to attempt to motivate God to free us from what we are enduring, because God knows our heart, and God truly knows that we are really repenting with all of our heart. Nothing can hide from Him. Nothing can hide from Him. Even more during this time that we partially act like we're repenting and we're thinking that we're going to move God. We're not going to move God that way. We need to express the word that the psalmist David said in his word. A heart that is humble and contrite, God will never reject. A heart that is humble, contrite before God, God will not reject. But we had to come before God in genuine repentance. And I want you to hear this. And I want to put it in these terms and provide you an example. And we, drive a car, in a wise fashion or carelessly, then accidents can happen. You are a person who is very undisciplined in the way in your diet, you can suffer certain health problems. Now, what does this mean? That when these types of things happen in their lives, then God is able to utilize this suffering as a type of discipline to the believers, so they're able to get that fruit that's pleasurable in their life. So perhaps the thing is that our own actions are the ones that cause these things. And let me tell you something, the enemy does pursue us and he causes a lot of the conflict. However, God uses that suffering as a measure of discipline in order for God to reach out to us so that we may provide or reap fruits that are pleasurable and pleasing to God. And it is true that anything in the present appears to be the cause of joy but of sadness, but afterwards it brings good fruit of justice or righteousness in those that have been exercised. But it is painful. What is happening hurts. We're going to get out of this good. We are going to come out of this more mature. We're going to come out of this people who are different. We're going to be stronger people. We are going to be different with our neighbors. We're going to treat our neighbors, our brothers and sisters in Christ differently. And we're going to be with God treating him differently. We are going to be better people. We're going to come out of this as better people overall. We're going to be reaching out to God and searching for God more deeply, more profound. And the thing is that the judgment has to begin with the home. Discipline has to begin with the household. Now, I want you to hear this. Discipline is the evidence of the love of the Father. The enemy wants us to believe that the difficulties of life are tests that God does not love us. But let me tell you something. God does love us, and that is why He corrects us. The discipline of God at times comes to our lives in a way that we don't anticipate. Perhaps by an admonishment, a correction in His Word, or a circumstance in life, or many times because of an illness that may come upon our bodies. However, in one way or the other, God is always looks for the way to get our attention. And I believe that this is the moment where God is knocking at our door. He's calling us. He's getting our attention. And I need to say this again, church. I believe that God, He is disciplining us this moment. And God is getting our attention. And you look and observe, well, how many people, how many parents have been irresponsible? How many parents have been absent? Fathers absent in the family? How many families have not gathered together? They don't even know each other. Nowadays, they're all together, close in their homes as a family. The father that never had time for their kids, now he has to spend time with her family. The mom who never had time for her kids, now she has to spend time with her kids. Fathers and mothers working all the time and the kids raising themselves, now they gotta be together as a family together. What does this mean? There has to be that God has a discipline in our lives. There is a discipline that God is correcting us in this situation that we are experiencing. And I want you to hear this, church. The writer of the book of Hebrews, he presented and saw the trials of the Christian walk, of the Christian life, as discipline for us. And instead of us trying to run away from the difficulties of life, that we should know how to be able to, grow from them in the Lord. We should pay attention to what God is telling us. We need to pay attention to what God is telling us right now. We're talking about a revival. There's going to be an amazing revival on the face of the earth. But in order for there to be a revival on the earth, then God has to begin with our houses first. God has to begin with the Christian households first. God cannot bring forth a revival to the world if the so called Christians are in disobedience. There is a purpose behind all of this that is happening. This is a discipline so that the one who was lame will not go astray along the way, and they will come back wriggled into the correct path. There is a purpose, I say to you again, behind all of this. And let me tell you this, that God wants what is twisted to be straightened and to come back to the right path. God wants every person to examine themselves and to see that what is happening right now, that is part of the calling of God, that it is part of a discipline so that we are able to come to God. In the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, the Word of God tells us it is time, hear this, that the so called Christians, that we will raise up our fallen hands and our paralyzed knees, and that we will have straight paths for our feet. Make level paths for your feet, so that the lame may not be disabled, but rather healed. That is Hebrews chapter 12, verse 12 and 13. I want to repeat it again. It is time that those so-called Christians, that we may raise up our feeble or weakened arms and weak knees, and that we make level paths for our feet, so that what is lame may not be disabled, but rather healed. I want you to hear this word, church. As a believer, we shall raise up our hands. We shall strengthen up our weakened knees. Amen. This illustrates to us that a person who is discouraged and disoriented because of the sufferings of the trials of life. The problem is this. That instead of hearing the voice of God's discipline, you have allowed your hands to fall down and be weakened, and your knees to be weakened and paralyzed. Instead of us hearing God's voice, and instead of us hearing what God is trying to tell you, the message that God is trying to touch you with, we're not hearing God's voice. We're not hearing the discipline of God. So we allow our hands to fall down. We allow our knees to be weakened and fall down. And what happens? We grow apart from God. And as believers, you need to hear God's voice. You need to hear His voice of discipline. I invite you to lift up your hands, strengthen your hands. I invite you to strengthen up your knees that are feeble, your knees that are weak. We are in the time of crying out to God, a crying out to God of humbleness. As God told Solomon, if my people were humble where my name is invoked, then I will respond. Then I will heal the land. Until we don't learn to come to God humbly, we're not going to learn. We're not going to learn to see God, that God is operating in our lives. I want you to hear this. I want you to hear this word from God to you. And as in Isaiah 35:13, strengthen your weak hands, and then your weak knees strengthen, and those in your heart who are discouraged, be strengthened, do not fear. Our God is coming with retribution and recompense. My Lord will come himself, and God himself will save you. Oh, what a word, people of God, what a word. We shall follow the course of righteousness or the discipline of God. It should be exactly what the Holy Spirit is indicating to you to do. And don't do anything that the Holy Spirit doesn't instruct you to do. The Word of God. Do not go to the right or to the left. Apart your foot from evil. I remember when God told this word to Joshua, do not apart to the left nor to the right. Maintain yourself straight in my path. How beautiful is God? His word, when He gave that word of comfort and strength to Joshua. Wow. If you have any problem in your life, if you have a problem in your life right this moment, and you know that you have a problem in your life, God wants to heal that. The believer shall heal any part in their body of conduct. Your conduct, your attitude, your conduct is a conduct and attitude where that speaks to you that is incorrect before God. You need to fix it. You need to fix it this moment. It may be that your conduct, well, it is to strengthen your feeble hands or your weakened knees, to have a level path, so you to be able to be a help to those that are in affliction right now. Perhaps because of your lacking of or prayer or consecration or submission to God, and in seeing you in those conditions that you are, it is time that those weakened hands, that those weakened knees be strengthened. It is time that those knees that are weakened, those knees that are paralyzed, need to be healed so that you are able to support other people. It is time. I believe that this land, your land, is going to be healed. I believe that this land is going to be healed. I got to tell you. But I got to tell you this. It's going to be healed. This land is not going to be healed until Christians give good, evidence that they are children of God. Then those that say that they come to the house of God live according to the fruits of the Holy Spirit of God. So all these people who are around you, they're going to see that there are correct conducts or behaviors of righteousness in your life. And no one can come to the feet of Christ if our conduct are conducts that are displeasing to God. May God help us with that, right? May God help us with that. And through receiving God's discipline, You will be a dynamic witness for God. It is time for us to go out into the street. Any person that doesn't know about God, the church is gathered together only bringing for only programs and four walls. If we're not doing what God has called us, we have forgotten what God has called us to do, to go and evangelize the word of God. We have forgotten to people who are terrorized, who are afraid of what is going on. And Christians, instead of going into the street and evangelizing, they are underneath their beds filled with fear, wondering what is going to happen. I believe that the true Christian knows in whom they have believed. I believe that the true Christian, they believe that the things that are happening on this earth, the child of God is firm. The child of God is strong because they are in the hands of God hidden. And it is time for us to speak to the souls, to the lives that need to hear the word of God. Let's get out of our four walls that we are stuck in and do what God has called us to tell the people that don't know God. And while the church is in the caves hiding, and while the church is in the four walls, the world will continue in tragedy. God has healing for the world, but it is through His church. It is through the people that have come to His feet. God has healing for the world. Tell the Lord this evening, as the psalmist David said, Lord God, have mercy on me, heal my soul, because against you and only you have I sinned. Heal my soul, because I have sinned against you, O Lord. When we confront trials in our lives, God gives us the guidance for us to remain steadfast and firm as we confront these battles of life. And God guides us. God, gives us guidance and instruction along the way of this life, because in this life, we get closer and closer to God. God wants the trials and these sins of happen in life do not destroy us. God wants us to be stronger this moment now, in the moment we're facing in our life. God wants to use it to discipline us and teach us even more. And God wants to show us and teach us how that we can depend on Him more. God wants to use this situation that we're going through right now. God wants to use this moment in our lives to show us, to discipline us, and how to depend on God. And even more, I want you to hear this. I want you to hear this. We have to allow God to 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 work and to use the trials of life to give us strength. We cannot, be involved in self-compassion and auto self-sufficiency. We cannot do that. We need to be moved towards God. We need to turn to God instead and ask Him for help. Ask Him for the strength and allow Him to be our helper. Allow God to help us. We need to believe that God cares about us, so deeply. It doesn't matter to God how severe, how adverse your situation is. He is here for you. The book of Romans, about all these things, we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us. Suffering should never get us to the point where we are rejecting His love and denying God as our Savior. We need to turn back to God in fervent prayer and search for His face. We need to wait on Him until He frees us from the affliction. And David said in Psalm 27 that he pleaded to God, do not forsake me, do not leave me. You are my help. Hear this. Your Christian faith does not consist in the elimination of the weakness and the suffering, but the manifestation of divine power through the weakness of life. And I'm going to say this again, church. Your Christian faith does not consist in the weakness or elimination of weakness or suffering, but the manifestation of divine power. And because God has promised to get something good out of all the suffering, all the persecutions that happened in our life, God is gonna get something good out of all of this. God has promised you to be next to you, the believers in Him, to walk with you in the valley of shadow of death. And lastly, do not forget that the Lord Jesus, He is sharing your affliction. When you pray, remember this, that you have a high priest. You have a high priest in diverse situations or trials and suffering. And in reality, he carried our illnesses and he suffered our pain. And remember, there is healing for the suffering that is happening. And in the suffering that he took, that he bears for us all. He did it for us. And I am so sure that God's hand is working in our lives. I am so sure that the hand of God that is disciplining us, it is His hand of love, that He loves you. And you're there right now at home and you're going through a very difficult time and you don't know what to do. I recommend to you to come to Christ. I recommend to you to open up your heart to Christ. Give God the opportunity to work in your heart. If you have gone astray, you have grown far from God, it is time for you to turn back to God. He loves you. The place that you left Him, God is still there. Enough is enough for you for self righteousness and justification. Stop looking around you. Because of him, because of her, you don't serve God. Salvation is for every individual. You're going to have to give God individually an account of your life. It's not going to be a group, but individually, you're going to have to give God, an account for your life, accountable for your life. Weakened hands and weakened knees. Awaken, strengthen, let Christ work in your heart. Reflect. Let us reflect. God is working with His church. God is calling His people from the four corners of the earth. God is calling aloud. There's a lot of spiritual negligence. There are a lot of people inside God's family that are church that are lost. And they need to give their lives back to God. They need to run to God. That what they have is a spirit of religion. They need to be freed from that. So that they are useful to God in the Lord. When the Lord bless you, when the Lord keep you, He let His face shine upon you and have mercy upon you. The Lord show His face before you and place peace in you. You will invoke the name of God upon your family, and God is going to bless you. I invite you, if you have accepted Christ as your Savior, I invite you to our church. The Lord is with us here in West Liberty, Iowa, 4th Street, 711 4th Street, West Liberty, Iowa. We invite you. Our phone number 319-627-4168. We wait for you here. We have a group of brothers and sisters that here to help you. We wait for you with open arms. I want you to feel welcome. We want to share with you that the time that we have left on this earth, that you're part of the family of the Lord. That God may bless you. That God may continue to reach out to you and bless you. And I want to tell you that God is good and His mercy endures forever.
Quiero levantarte, maravilloso Jesús, milagroso Señor, llena este lugar de tu presencia, haz descender Jesús.